Journalist Michael Hastings, known for his 2010 piece The Runaway General in Rolling Stone magazine. The Gut General McChrystal fire died 33 years old Tuesday the 18th at 4:30 in the morning after his Mercedes crashed at Melrose and Highland at Hancock Park in Los Angeles. A dash cam by freelance photographer Loud Labs Timely caught Michael's white Mercedes running a red light just minutes before the crash. Eyewitnesses and testimonies have not all exactly matched. There are some discrepancies. People describing bombs.
Where's the driver? Where's the driver? Is there anybody in there?
It sounded like a bomb went off in the middle of the night. My house shook. The windows were rattling.
The best eyewitness was the Mexican-American guy who saw the car losing control, bursting into flames, fishtailing, bouncing off the road a few times before hitting a palm tree, and then most likely bursting into flames or even exploding.
Y miré el carro que iba a todo lo que daba el carro, no se detenía, entonces yo corría a la calle a mirar, porque pues yo miré como que él quería a brinque y brinque, sacando lumbre en la tanque de la gasolina, bastante chispas. Al llegar donde se estampó en la palma, fue cuando saltó la lumbre, pues fuerte, alto.
You saw the sparks prior to him hitting anything. You just saw it at the bottom of the car.
Sí, bastante, desde que comenzó de la luz, porque pasó la luz y todavía más para atrás de la luz donde pasó. Yo pienso que iba todo lo que daba el carro, lo que podía correr. Entonces pienso que encontró más hoyos más hondos. Es donde se le fue la cajuela, se colió así. Fue cuando ganó derecho a la palma, se subió arriba y fue cuando se estrelló ahí, pues. En cuanto pasó la luz de la Melrose, a como unos 50 pies adelante, es cuando perdió más el control y fue cuando se fue contra la palma. Y sí, de acá yo miraba que el carro ahí pegó tres saltos o 4 más fuertes. Fue donde ya lo destanteó y ya ganó para la palma.
Were there any other cars following him?
No, yo no miré ni uno. No, iba solo él, yo no miré carros porque iba demasiado recio, muy fuerte, iba muy fuerte.
When Loud Labs arrived at the crash site about 4 minutes later, ADT, a security company, is there with one of the cars. Also a Jewish man, who according to one reporter is said to be part of Hatzalah, an Israeli volunteer ambulance corps.
The group Hatzalah, a Jewish group here in the neighborhood, they were first responders for them here, blocking traffic, doing what they could, waiting for the fire department at that early morning hour, about 4:30 this morning.
But the Jewish man is there alone with a host. There's no sign of one of their ambulances being there. How any one of these guys came to the site early is still unknown. Maybe they are just living in the area or were out on previous calls. He probably is attempting to put out the fire or keep it under control despite pouring water on a car fire with gasoline involved is not the smartest approach. Reports said that the body had been burnt beyond recognition. The Associated Press said that the coroner had matched his fingerprints to prints that the FBI had on file. The tarp, as some have decided to put big focus on, is simply done to keep the body out of public view, serving a few different purposes. It is, first of all, respectful to the dead, and it also keeps people from stopping and staring, as some people would find it very disturbing. There are many other questions remain to be answered. For example, why was the engine and the transmission found 70 or 80 yards away from the crash site? And exactly how did it get there?
I couldn't have written a scene like this for a movie where the engine flies from the car, which was about, 50, 60 yards up, right down here to this telephone pole.
Was there a bomb in the vehicle? Or was Hastings pressured to go somewhere in a hurry, being chased? Maybe not by another car, but by some kind of threat. WikiLeaks tweeted that Hastings contacted their lawyer, Jennifer Robinson, just a few hours before he died. He also said in an email to co-workers at BuzzFeed and his friend Sergeant Joe Biggs that the feds were investigating his close friends and associates and that they should seek legal counsel before answering any questions. Ultimately, due to his past caliber of reporting, Hastings have made some powerful enemies and more recently had really started to criticize the government and their newly started so-called war on journalism.
The Obama administration has clearly declared war on the press. It's declared war on investigative journalists, our sources. I think the only recourse to this kind of behavior by the government is to say back to the government, we declare war on you, and from this point forward, we should no longer, as a media as a whole, cooperate in any manner with the government in terms of when we're doing national security stories. We should withdraw all our cooperation, and we should publish everything we know, because it's a free press. It's not a free except for when the government tells me to do it press. And we've been way too easygoing with these guys. We've let them get away with this for years. We've let them tell us what to print, what not to print. And I say be done with it, and everybody should just get together and fire back, because no one else is going to defend the press.
Absolutely shocked, as am I, as to what this Justice Department did, not only to the AP, but now to Fox News, tracing 5 lines inside Fox News' Washington bureau. You add on top of that also people inside the White House talking about the Espionage Act against a reporter who did exactly what reporters have been doing for 200 years.
Right.
It's almost as if Eric Holder and Barack Obama never read the Pentagon's papers case. We've been having this fight for 200 years, and they're talking about espionage?
No, and this seems to be, you know, what's funny is I think candidate Obama, if George Bush and Dick Cheney were doing this, imagine what candidate Obama would have said. Candidate Obama would be unloading. There'd be a lot of Democrats that would be unloading on the administration if they were trying to do this, and they were trying to crack down on leaks. You can't look at this and see it as anything other than an attempt to basically scare anybody from ever leaking anything ever again. So they want to criminalize journalism. And that's what it's coming down. I mean, if you end up essentially criminalizing journalism when it comes to reporting on the federal government, particularly on national security, and the only place they think they technically can do that is on the issues of national security. What it's going to do is the impact that we heard the AP counsel say this over the weekend. It is going to make whistleblowers and people that might leak regular sources. You know, I've had different conversations with people over the last week who are sitting there not quite comfortable having certain conversations on the phone. I mean, it just completely, and maybe that's the intent. I can't think of any other intent of why they're going about this in such a broad, harassing sort of way.
Michael has also been very outspoken about the NSA debacle and their surveillance of the American people.
When I'm trying to comprehend the fact that there's this massive surveillance state, besides the fact that it makes me uneasy, as a journalist, it shuts down investigative journalism. You know, any conversations, I mean, friends of ours, Barrett Brown, you know, I would talk to him on the phone, and my number is in his phone, which has been seized by the government, and I assumed when any communications I always had with him that they were being, so I was very careful what I said, always in contact with him, because I knew that, you know, they could be recorded. So that's the sort of principle I'm kind of operating on. When I dealt with Julian Assange, it was all through the Tor browser. You know, all this sort of, you know, backdoor, da-da-da-da. But even that doesn't even matter, because the minute it gets to me, unless you're a super savvy, computer expert, it's really hard to protect everybody in this massive surveillance state. And that becomes, all you have going for you is that they have so much information, and they're generally incompetent morons who are surveilling me rather than people who are going to go blow up Boston. That's their problem. Yeah, I mean, not me. I'm not saying I cannot confirm that I have ever been, you know, but except that people tell me all the time, and then, you know, in the special forces community. There is no doubt this is such a massive chilling effect on anyone who's doing serious investigative work, even from a reporting perspective. Now, every time I make a phone call, or colleagues like myself make these phone calls, we have to realize we're putting someone's career at jeopardy, even if they don't even tell us anything, because their name can show up. We had a conversation because what happens is, if your name comes up on one of these lists in these investigations, your phone number, if you're from the White House or wherever, I mean, even if you weren't the leaker, you get a reputation as someone who speaks to the press. Said Eric Holder was a busy man. I think he needs a vacation, and I think that vacation should last at least 3 more years and however many days left in this administration. I am so out. Like, we haven't got to the AP scandal yet, but in terms of the IRS, again, let's talk about the administration's damage control here. It's classic Obama in the sense that, yes, he's firing people, but the people he are firing are going to be, you know, low-level guys, people he doesn't have a personal relationship with. Where Eric Holder himself, Most recently, he's one of the inner circle. He was at Valerie Jarrett's daughter's wedding earlier last year. I mean, he's someone who's very tight with Obama, so that's why he's survived so long, despite the Fast and Furious scandal and a number of other these things. But I think this, this is just embarrassing. When you have to go up and say, "Oh, I don't know anything about anything," repeatedly, you should be out of a job.
Then you have the Petraeus sex scandal and possibly connections deeper into the inner circle. The question is if Hastings was onto something big that they wanted to stop.
I think there's many other reasons Petraeus should have resigned besides who he's sleeping with that's not his wife.
If no foul play is to be believed, which is very hard at this point, questions will undoubtedly be forwarded to Mercedes, as owners and potential new buyers would want to know if all their cars have the tendency to explode after an impact like this. Another possibility altogether is that Hastings' vehicle was hacked. These are all valid questions considering what recently has come out about this. Former U.S. National Coordinator for Security, Infrastructure Protection and Counterterrorism, Richard Clarke, told the Huffington Post, "There is reason to believe that intelligence agencies for major powers, including the United States, know how to remotely seize control of a car. What has been revealed as a result of some research at universities is that it's relatively easy to hack your way into the control system of a car and to do such things as to cause acceleration when the driver doesn't want acceleration, to throw on the brakes when the driver doesn't want the brakes on, or to launch an airbag." Mercedes themselves have been doing research on autonomous cars since the 80s, and their last incarnation is the S-Class self-driving car. And DARPA recently talked about the hacking of vehicles. Here is an excerpt from Kathleen Fisher's presentation.
The slide that's been omitted showed a result of the researchers at UCSD and the University of Washington hacking into the dashboard display of a typical American sedan, making it show that the car was going 140 miles an hour while in park. Drilling down a little bit, modern vehicles consist of between 30 and 100 embedded control units, which are essentially small computers connected via a CAN bus. These cars are required by law to have a diagnostic port, typically located under the steering wheel, that allows mechanics to download diagnostic information and to perform software updates. In a first paper, the researchers from UCSD and the University of Washington showed that if they could touch the CAN bus through that diagnostic port, they could take over all of the functionality of the car that's controlled by software. And in a modern automobile, that's pretty much everything. The brakes are controlled by software because of anti-lock braking. The acceleration is controlled by software because of cruise control. And in those fancy new cars that can park themselves, even the steering is under software control. The reaction to this first paper was somewhat muted, perhaps because of the researchers had access to that diagnostic port. They were inside the car, and so already had physical access to the brakes, acceleration, and steering. They responded with a second paper in which they showed a variety of ways of touching that CAN bus without physically touching the car. These attacks involved infecting the computers in the repair shop and then having that infection spread to the car through the diagnostic port, or hacking in through the Bluetooth system, or using the cell phone network to break in through the telematics unit that's normally used to provide roadside assistance. The most ingenious attack, though, used the stereo system in the car. The researchers were able to craft an electronic version of a song that played just fine in your home stereo system or on your personal computer. But when you put that on a CD and played it in the car CD player, it took over total control of your automobile. Yeah, right, pretty scary, huh? These vulnerabilities arise because the cyber components that form the interface of these cars are built from the same kinds of buggy components that are in your personal computers. And the control systems that are actually running the car have no notion that there can be an attacker sitting on the CAN bus.
This technology is going to the next level right now. Appropriately, the Lemmings train in Sweden will be handling your driving there. Volvo has been working on what they call the Volvo Sartre semi-autonomous road train.
Request for joining.
Platform request accepted. Please release the vehicle pedals. Please release the steering wheel.
Convenient, since I can do something else than the actual driving. Safe, since the system will take care of the driving, it will eliminate the human errors. And then fuel efficient, since we use a minor gap size between the vehicles, we will reduce air drag and thereby fuel consumption.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cat. Where can I take you tonight?
It's called platooning, and they say that not driving your own car is more freedom. This is not the technology that Michael Hastings had in his car, but it shows both what is possible and what they are working on. Speculations have been that the OnStar system can take control over your car. The major safety issue is the devastation that can occur when someone hacks this train of vehicles or the system simply fails. You'll now have a pileup with 10, 20, maybe even more vehicles. What if someone remotely can turn off your car, speed up, slow down, brake, basically take control over the entire vehicle?
Auto driving.
And the question is if this is what happened to Hastings' car.
Look, Mom, no hands. No hands anywhere. No hands, no feet, no nothing. Hey, anybody up for a taco? I'm all for Taco Bell myself.
His friend, Sergeant Joe Biggs, asked the really important questions in this following interview.
Hastings sent a cryptic email to his friends and associates saying that the feds were investigating him and that he was on to a big story. Sergeant Joe Biggs is one of the friends who received that chilling email, and he joins us live. Why do you question whether this was truly an accident?
It's the fact, the way that the other times that we've spoken before, and this email I got, it was just very panicked, and it didn't seem like something normally we would talk about. And I just felt a gut feeling, something didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm. But the police say it's an accident. They looked into it. They said, look, he was driving fast. It was 4:30 in the morning. It was dark. Lost control of the car, went through a red light, hit a tree.
Well, his friends and family, they know him. Everyone says he drives like a grandma. So that right there doesn't seem like something that he would be doing. I mean, he had a lot of friends and family that cared about him. He had a good life to live. There's no way he would be acting erratic like that and driving that out of control.
Yo pienso que iba lo que marcaba la ruedita de la velocidad del tablero, porque iba demasiado recio, muy fuerte, iba muy fuerte.
What is the alternate theory, that he was murdered, that he was intentionally targeted by someone?
I don't know that. I just know that from the email to hours later dying, it's just not a coincidence like that. Things don't add up. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I contacted by email Mercedes today, asked them if it's normal for their cars to blow up to that extent, for if the engines fly out on a normal basis. I mean, these are the real questions we need to ask.
And what of obviously he was investigating a couple of high-profile cases. He was looking into, he said, Jill Kelly, who was connected with the whole David Petraeus and General Clark. Go ahead.
His wife today said that that's definitely not true, that he was investigating into Jill Kelly.
Michael Hastings' wife says he was not investigating that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what was he investigating, as far as you know, that would have caused any consternation whatsoever by someone?
CIA, but from what he said, or one of the things he said is it was going to be the biggest story yet.
You know how people are going to react to this. They're going to say the tinfoil hat people think the government killed this journalist by taking over his car, doing something to his car, and the other people are going to say, so there are people who are going to say that's nuts. Your thoughts?
I mean, I can understand both viewpoints, but like I said, he's not someone that would be driving around erratically like that in the middle of the night. That just wasn't how he was. So that just leaves a lot of questions and a lot of digging that need to be brought up and answered. I'm not going to speculate and say I think anything, because that's just going to make me look crazy.
Well, no one wants that. We just want answers. And it was interesting because former counterterrorism official Richard Clark spoke in an interview to the Huffington Post saying, look, he said it is possible for intelligence agencies to seize control of a car remotely. That's what he claims, and to do what they want to it. And he went on to say, reportedly, my rule has always been you don't knock down a conspiracy theory until you can prove it wrong.
What happened to Michael Hastings?